China just built an AI chip that skips Nvidia's entire playbook, and Wall Street has no idea what's coming. This single announcement could change the memory chip market, the AI hardware race, and your portfolio. Welcome back to AI Assets. A Chinese startup called Dongfang Suanxin, or DFSX, just unveiled something Silicon Valley didn't see coming. It's called the DF1000, and the company is calling it the world's first software-defined near-memory computing 3D chip. Here's why that matters. This isn't a clone of Nvidia's design. It's a completely different architecture built to solve the exact problem that's been slowing down AI chips for years: the memory wall. The DF1000 delivers 520 teraflops at BF16 precision, and it's built on an older 14-nanometer process node. Normally, that would make it hopelessly outdated. But DFSX compensated by stacking logic and DRAM together using wafer-level hybrid bonding, giving the chip a staggering 6.4 terabytes per second of memory bandwidth. That's the real story here. Instead of racing for smaller transistors, which China can't easily do because of export controls on advanced lithography, DFSX went sideways. They innovated on architecture instead of process node. And they're not stopping. The roadmap includes the DF2000 launching in the fourth quarter of 2026, targeting up to 4,000 teraflops at FP4 precision. Then comes the DF3000 in late 2027, aiming for 8,000 teraflops and 20 terabytes per second of bandwidth. Behind this technology is real money. DFSX has already reached a valuation of roughly 1.7 billion euros, backed by state and industrial investors. This is not a garage startup. This is a coordinated national bet. Now let's talk about why this matters for you as an investor. The obvious angle is Nvidia and AMD. Every advance in China's domestic chip capability chips away at their addressable market inside China, a market already restricted by export rules. But that's not the biggest story. The less obvious angle is memory. DFSX's entire innovation is based on stacking DRAM directly onto compute logic. That puts this chip in direct competition with the traditional memory supply chain, companies like SK Hynix, Samsung, and Micron, whose business models depend on selling standalone, high-bandwidth memory to chip makers. If more companies follow DFSX's blueprint, the entire economics of memory manufacturing could shift. Here's what most analysts and media outlets are missing. Everyone is framing this as another chapter in the China copies Nvidia narrative. But DFSX isn't copying anything. This is architectural innovation designed specifically to bypass the exact restrictions the West put in place. China can't get cutting-edge lithography tools, so instead of fighting that battle, they're redesigning the entire computing stack around older, legally available manufacturing. That's a fundamentally different threat model than sanctions were built to stop. Export controls were designed to slow down process nodes, not architecture innovation. If this approach scales, Western semiconductor policy may be fighting the wrong war entirely. This also isn't happening in isolation. DFSX is part of a much larger ecosystem. Chinese AI companies have been forming alliances throughout 2026, specifically to build a fully domestic AI supply chain, from chips to software to data centers. DFSX is one very technical, very well-funded piece of that puzzle. So what should you watch next? Mark your calendar for the fourth quarter of 2026. That's when DFSX plans to launch the DF2000, and that launch will tell us whether this architecture can actually scale in production, not just in a lab demo. Also watch Nvidia and AMD's China-specific revenue disclosures in their next earnings reports. Any language about shrinking addressable market inside China is a direct signal this trend is accelerating. And keep an eye on memory stocks. If DFSX's near-memory architecture gains traction, expect commentary from SK, Hynix, Samsung, and Micron about competitive pressure from integrated compute memory designs. That's a subtle but important signal institutional investors will be watching closely. The bigger picture here is simple. China isn't just trying to replace Nvidia. They're trying to make the entire Western chip supply chain less relevant by inventing a different path forward. Whether that succeeds depends on execution over the next 12 to 18 months, and DFSX just gave us our first real data point. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit subscribe to AI Assets for daily insights on AI investing, and drop a comment below with your take on whether China's chip strategy can actually catch up to the West. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.